I was in Youngsville here. I wanted to, I was involved with Snow Peak ski area, which is between here and Quarry. And we had kind of a bad arrangement there, so I was going to get a group together and open a ski area down on Robert Jackson's farm. I had lease on that farm for a while, and I had I don't know, this notorious character, this Baresi and Corey that used to put on the rooster fights, the chicken fights. Mm-hmm. He wanted to use the barn that I had down there, mm-hmm. and I gave him permission to use it.
Did that property include the Jackson Homestead?
Yes. The Jackson Homestead was the main piece of the property because there was a great big meadow at the bottom of the hill along the creek that we were going to get water from for snowmaking.
So at the time what time period was this? Was this the 50s, 60s?
Yeah.
And was the house up then?
Yes.
Did you stay
Well,
there?
Mortons were living in there.
Who was that?
Morton. Morton is who I leased. They owned the property.
Okay.
Morton owned the property, and this woman, Dorothy Morton, she worked at timekeeping up at the Corey Jamestown, and that's where I got to know her. And she and her husband were living there at the farm, and I leased the farm. I got an option on the farm. And that's how I got started there.
So
Dorothy and Dick Morton.
And what was your goal? What did you want to accomplish there?
To put in a ski area.
And the ski area would be up on you'd have the meadow, and then there was a hill there.
Big hill. He was interested in properties, and I had him tour that property with me. Mm-hmm. And he was interested in the timber in it because there was a lot of tulip poplar on that farm. He was with Stewart, Bevavino, and Millen.
Who had the cockfights?
Baresi.
Baresi.
And what happened was that they got raided one night. And they checked back and found who had the property, which was I. My name was in the paper for being caught at the cockfight at the Morton farm. See, at that point in time, that was the Morton farm.
And were you there?
No, I wasn't there. I had a hell of a time. Oh, Jim Keller, anytime we went skiing together, he would have some kind of a joke. He'd have a bunch of feathers and stick them in my bed.
Baresi has this cockfights. Where did he actually have them?
In the barn.
In the barn?
There was a barn there on the farm.
So right now, there was the Jackson Homestead, and then there was a barn on that property.
That's right.
So the actual cockfights were in the barn.
In the barn.
Oh my gosh.
And the reason they got it was this, I called the state police. There was a bunch of junk cars sitting on the property. Apparently some kids were out there racing cars and they'd leave the junk there. And I called this cop, and I wished I could remember his name, but he connected me with the farm and said that I was there at that cockfight, because I had called him to get those cars off of there and trace the names and find out who they were and so on and so forth. This is unbelievable because I've been reading this information. I've been reading this information on the paper, and it kind of tickled me a little bit because I told Pat, I said, hell, I used to have a lease on that.
You know, this was probably just this winter or fall that there was an article.
A lot of articles on Robert Jackson.
Yeah, it's really been interesting that on the
Well-
subdivisions.
You have no idea. The guy who's been doing the whole project is me. This is unbelievable. I can't believe this. Everything else,
What you run into today? Huh?
Well, old John,
gin joints and all the work.
got to give John credit. I had some squatters that was on the property, and I talked to John. I said, John, what can we do about it? He says, call them and tell them to clear it out. Call the people and tell them to clear it out. And I don't have any information on who the people were, but I did that. And John said, and if they won't remove it, go in there and burn it, which I did. And all hell broke loose there for a while.
So they had camps or sheds?
Camps, yeah, they had camps, hunting camps.
Yep, so you just burn them down.
Just burn them down.
How many were there? Were there...
I think there was 3 of them.
Okay. So I can imagine the squatters came back and said, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I had a problem for a while. But I had John Stewart behind me.
Yeah. Wow. That's unbelievable.
John was quite a man. He was a lovely man.